Hey guys, welcome back to yet another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good day. Today, we are back with episode 16 of our 31 Perfect Albums. I'm again joined by my illustrious co-hosts. We have Bill Schuster. How's it going, Bill?
Great, Armando. How are you doing?
I'm doing good for 4 sips of coffee. I'm doing really good. I'm doing really well. We have Mr. Jim Bricker. How's it going, Jim?
Hello, Armando. I am very excited to be here for this episode. Very excited.
That's good. That's good. Your audio is a little off. It's
Is
kind of,
it?
yeah.
Uh-oh.
You're good
Something
now.
come
You're
through.
good
All
now.
right.
Okay. And we have Ken Cheshire. How's it going, Ken?
Doing well. Good to see you guys.
Good to be seen and good to see you too.
Great.
So, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, we are continuing with our 31 Perfect Albums series. We have arrived to day 16. So, again, the premise of this series is to pick our 31 perfect albums, top to bottom again, all killer, no filler. And yeah, we have painstakingly put together this list. It was quite painful for some of us, quite daunting for others, but you know what? We managed to do it, damn it, and we're going to give it to you. So I will pass the virtual mic as I see on my screen down to Mr. Bill Schuster, and he'll start us off with his day 16 pick.
All right. Thank you, Armando. I set myself up many arbitrary rules to whittle my list down. And one of the rules that I set for myself was no live albums. I'm breaking it here. And I'll tell you why in just a moment. I need to grab someone. Excuse me for a moment.
Uh-oh.
We're being set up.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm suspicious.
Ooh.
Sorry, my dark hat was not accessible, so this is going to have to do. That's right. It's Briefcase Full of Blues by the Blues Brothers.
Nice.
Why do you look like Van Morrison to me?
The reason that I'm breaking my live album rule here is because there was no studio album for this material. This was their debut album. It was actually a complete live performance when they opened for Steve Martin in 1978. So this is where you find all this material. So it's a complete album in and of itself, not a rehashing of material from other albums. Uh, I don't know. Some people kind of see these guys as a joke, and that's understandable because Belushi and Aykroyd, I mean, are famous as funny guys. Uh, but they took this very seriously. Dan Aykroyd is still doing this. He has part ownership in House of Blues, and he takes it pretty seriously. And he got Belushi into it back in the mid '70s, and Belushi went all in. He became a devoted blues and soul fan. Got a huge record collection in a short time. Became obsessed. So, and I think John actually is quite good on the vocals here. I mean, I don't see him as a joke at all here. I think he's pretty convincing. He means it. And no less than Steve Cropper himself said that Belushi was just as good as, if not better than, so many of the vocalists that he'd worked with. And considering that Steve Cropper, along with Duck Dunn, are both on here, of course. I mean, these are from Booker T and the MGs. They were the house band for Stax Records. I'm going to listen to Steve. The man knows what he's talking about. And I think it's pretty cool that when they cover Soul Man, which isn't necessarily a blues song, but of course it was the biggest hit here in the States off this album, that John recreates the famous line from the Sam and Dave version, "Play it, Steve," and it really is Steve Cropper yet again. So that's just a cool little tidbit there that I've always enjoyed. Uh, I think they cover a pretty nice variety here, other than Soul Man and Groove Me to a lesser extent. These weren't really hit songs. So I think for a lot of people, other than hardcore fans of any of these artists, this was the first place that they heard these songs. It definitely was for me.
Oh, yeah.
I knew Sam and Dave and I knew King Floyd, but the rest, no. And some of the songs, like by the Downchild Blues Band that Aykroyd used to play with, Shotgun Blues, that's one of my favorites on here. And yeah, Belushi sells that song too, just the way he's gonna take a shotgun, people, and disconnect my brain. Yeah. And he has fun with the what am I looking for? Oh, I don't know. With the little story bit in the song there, some pretty bawdy lyrics thrown in there on that version. Some lots of double entendres.
I
Yeah.
can just imagine.
Yeah.
Nice little Paul Schaefer keyboard moments in there too with the
Yes.
double
Yeah.
entendres.
Boy, yes, exactly. The
Yep.
yes, Paul, the musical director. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, this
Mhm.
is an all-star band. So yeah, not just Paul and Steve and Duck Dunn here. The ubiquitous Tom Scott, who was on Everything Everywhere in the 70s. Yeah, it's just Steve Jordan on drums. Yeah, these guys. It's kind of like the Maria Muldaur album I spoke of previously. I guess. Look at the talent that's surrounding them. When you see this much talent, this many players that are willing to go all in on this and make it happen, I'm going to take it seriously.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
to me, it's a perfect album because, for one thing, it really is a concert. It's the performance in order, as I understand it. So it doesn't feel like some patched together. Here's a song from this night. Here's two songs from this other night, like a typical concert album. So it's just meant to be played through, and you get the feeling of being there, basically. And that's my favorite kind of live albums. So it's the live album that's kind of not a live album in a way, but also the livest album. I don't know.
So what are you trying to say, Bill?
That's a good question. It's too
All right.
dark in here. I can't really see what I'm trying to say.
Oh,
Okay. No, it's a good choice. It's a good
Luckily,
choice.
these are prescription sunglasses, so I can still read those.
I still think you look like Van Morrison. When you instead of the Blues Brothers, you look like Van Morrison, man. You know,
I needed the tie and the jacket.
Yeah.
the hat does it. I'm telling you, it's the hat.
nicely done, sir.
Yeah, it's a good choice. All right, Ken, your choice.
Okay. We're staying in 1982, this time on February 12th. My first album from this band, although it's their fifth studio album, and it's one that made me really aware of producer Hugh Padgham. I recognized the name before, but I really just fell in love with his work here. And that is English Settlement by XTC.
Oh,
Yeah. It's
good one.
um gosh, what can you say about this? Originally released in the US as a single album, which is how I discovered it. But not too long after that, they re-released it as a double, rightfully so.
Right.
I think they had removed, I think, 5 songs to make it a single album. And
Sacrilege.
yeah, I know. But the album, double album is just a perfect setting. This is somewhat unique at the time because this album, as opposed to the first 4, has a more of a pastoral acoustic style to it, a lot more acoustic guitars, but that doesn't keep it from it's not mild by any means. I mean, No Thugs in
No.
Our House, Ball and Chain, and of course the biggie Senses Working Overtime, in which Senses Working Overtime was added very late in the process. The record company felt that they didn't really have a good single. And so someone has said, well, songs with a countdown do really well. So he went home and wrote Senses working overtime. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Senses working overtime, which became a big hit.
Yeah.
A lot of MTV play.
A lot of it.
Of course, at that
And
time, MTV was very important, to the artists and getting them out there. And I discovered the album just wandering around in my local record store. I was just kind of taking my time looking through the stacks like we all did, and just enjoying all the records. And one of the employees put this record on the sound system,
Oh,
and I heard Runaways. It's like, hey, I kind of like that. What is that? Then it goes into Ball and Chain. Then Senses Working, and then Jason and the Argonauts kicks off, and I'm like, oh, really?
oh yeah.
And so I just stuck around longer than maybe I would have, and heard the whole album. And when it was done, I went up to the counter and said, "What did you just finish playing?" And he showed me. I said, "Where is it?" And went and grabbed it and bought it. And I've been an XTC fan ever since. I may not like all the songs that they do throughout all their albums, but I can say that about all of my favorite artists. We don't always connect on every song, but this is what started me off. And of course, immediately after that, I went and bought their back catalog of Black Sea, Drums and Wires, Go To, all that stuff. And this is just, to me, there's songs in a way is a little bit prog adjacent as far as the instrumentation. No real particularly long songs,
Mhm.
but man, to sound so different in style, yet still have that XTC flavor.
Mhm.
So, you know, for me, there's not much to say about this other than it's just a fantastic album. And you can't always say that about double albums, but we
right.
have, and we probably will again.
There you go. Good choice. Yeah, I remember seeing. I've been aware of XTC ever since Drums and Wires. Just when I was like 9 years old. I mean, I remember seeing the video for Making Plans for Nigel and At the Hop, right? But I really didn't connect who they were until Senses Working Overtime, right? That video. And it's a good choice. I'm gonna go find that album and listen to it again.
Well, it
That's
charted
great.
higher in Canada than it did here in the US.
Yeah, they were popular here in Canada, and it's unfortunate that Terry Chambers, their drummer, left shortly after this because uh, Andy Partridge didn't want to tour
Yeah.
after
Right.
like 82.
Yep.
And Terry Chambers said, you know, what am I doing here if we're not going to perform live, if we're not going to, bring this music to the fans? So
Yeah.
it's a really good choice. It's a really good choice. All right, Jim,
Me?
am I in the hour?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll stop calling you that. Jesus.
All right. So, I almost don't know where to begin with this record,
About the beginning.
because it. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. So by starting, okay, I'll take your cue. So by starting at the beginning, people will know this album from the very first note.
Yep.
It's one of those albums where just, you can name that LP from the first note that's played.
Yeah.
It is completely distinctive. I think there's quite a few of us on this panel that might put it in like one of the greatest albums of all time, if not the greatest album of all time. It's already appeared here once, if memory serves correct, and that's Asia. Steely Dan's Asia, their sixth album. For me, it is the greatest album of all time. I mean, Kind of Blue is like a hair below it, but it's just a hair. There's only 7 songs on it, but good gravy. From composition, performance, arrangement, the sound production, just the design of the package, it's just classic, classy. I'm just going to fall on my sword and say, since this has already been discussed, I don't want to get into it any farther. And I forget which episode it was talked about it, but I can recall my face just beaming about it the whole time that Ken was talking about it.
Yeah, you were
because
happy.
Yeah, because I just love this album so deeply. And yeah, Steely Dan's Asia. I feel like a bit of a fool because I just can't,
Yep.
just don't know where to begin.
Can't get the words out. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
words fail you. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So here's the words I'll say. Steve Gadd, Wayne Shorter, Chuck Rainey, Joe Sample, Larry Carlton, Michael Omartian, Rick Marotta, Bernard Purdy. It just goes on and on and on.
Enough said.
And for people who know that first note that I'm talking about, you get it. All the feels come in with that first note of Black Cow.
Maybe not so much for Armando, but
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
You know
yes.
what?
Shall we discuss this, Armando?
You just
You
said
know
what we
It's
were
my
all
show,
thinking.
so no.
Yeah.
I'm going to. No, I
We're
will
going to
go.
turn
You
this
know
into
what?
an intervention.
You know what? I don't need no intervention. I'm telling you right now.
You're never going to live it down.
No, I'm not. But something. I am going to go back and re-listen to Black Cow again in the context of the whole album. I have all these albums on CD. Like I have the the initial run of the Steely Dan albums. They're all great, and I need to go back and listen to Black Cow again in the context of the whole album, like as it fits with the album. So it's a good choice. Yeah, and these lists they're gonna cross over. They're gonna be duplicates, right? In terms of our choices. So
I'm willing to bet that the rest of my list throughout this countdown will not cross over with anyone, with one possible exception in 1989.
Okay, well, we'll see.
Ooh, I think I know what that might be.
You may have. I did allude to something on Twitter.
Challenge accepted.
All right.
Now, it doesn't mean mine are all going to be quality, just that they're going to be different.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to finish off day 16 with my pick of a perfect album. We are going to October 2nd, 1981 with Discipline from King Crimson. Maybe I'm wrong, but thank you again. Jim again approves of my selection, and as I said, I live to make you happy, Jim. My notes, I first read that Discipline was released on September 22nd, 1981, and then I went back to the same source and it said October 2nd. So I'm going with the second release date. And if anyone out there knows different, please correct me in the comments. You're probably going to correct us on all these picks that we've made. Again, Discipline released on October 2nd, 1981. This was what, Mach 35 of the lineup of King Crimson, consisting of Robert Fripp, Adrian Belew, Tony Levin, and Bill Bruford. fantastic album, 7 tracks in total. A different format of music altogether for this album. It's still considered progressive rock, but there's also elements of new wave, art pop, art rock. Starts off with Elephant Talk. What I like about this album is the drumming. It's very percussive, very rhythmic. And I've always said that there's a very sort of sparse kind of playing. There's a lot of space in the production with this album. Not every channel has to be filled up with instruments or music, right? And it's got to be said. I mean, Bill Bruford kicks ass on the drums. It very rhythmic, very ass shaking again. You know what I mean? Starts off with Elephant Talk, then the beautiful frame by frame. I'd love Adrian Belew's vocals, and Nina agrees with me. She just cooed. After frame by frame comes, Mate Kudasa, just very tranquil kind of delivery from Adrian Belew on the vocals. Indiscipline's another fantastic piece of work. The Elahunjinji, I got that right on the first shot. Again, that's another ass shaker of a track. Just, you're sitting.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can't sit still when you hear the rhythm of that song. Just the drums and everything is just, it gets you up and moving, gets your ass shaking. And the Sheltering Sky, the instrumental, is another beautiful piece of work, and ends with Discipline. So, and I think it's very brave to end off, I think, with 2 instrumentals on the album, like back to back. Again, I remember seeing them being interviewed on the music program, the New Music, at this time, and just, my brother-in-law Mario at the time was like, King Crimson, that's pretty deep for you. You're only what, 10, 11? Like, I just knew what I liked. I didn't know what it was then in terms of music genre, but I knew that even then that they were, very, just a very interesting group. So this album, again, top to bottom, is just perfection. And some people would say with the other 2 albums in the trilogy, Beat and 3 of a Perfect Pair, that they kind of slipped near the end. I would tend to agree, but they hit the nail on the head with Discipline. So you guys really should check it out if you haven't yet. Again, what are you waiting for? So,
Yeah.
exactly. And there's box sets galore. If you got the box set, I believe it's called On and Off the Road. For Discipline, you also get, not only do you get a shitload of recordings and rehearsals and stuff, you also get the other 2 albums, Beat and 3 of a Perfect Pair, in this box set of On the Road for Discipline. So yeah, please check it out. And again, stream any of the stuff that we've been talking about. Don't take our word for it. Listen to it yourself. Take it for a test run. If you like anything that we've mentioned, please go get it. So any questions, any more to add?
I just want to say, so if I recall right, we've got Blues Brothers, English Settlement, Asia, and Discipline.
Yeah.
This may be
the most
the
eclectic.
best. Well, this may be the best frickin' episode we've done in terms of quality of albums.
Yeah.
But we will keep going anyway. Yeah.
Really?
Sure.
I was just going to plant the flag and say, you can't top this.
Well, don't worry. The next episodes we'll bring it down just a touch, just a bit, right? In some person's opinion or whatever. So, so there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Our picks for day 16 of 31 perfect albums. Again, we are not experts in music by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not. We're just here giving you our opinion of what we think is a perfect album. And perfection doesn't have to mean concept. It doesn't have to mean really deep thought. It's just an album that makes you feel, that grabs you on some level emotionally. And in my case, get your ass shaken.
It's fine criteria.
There you go. So for Jim, Ken, and Bill, I'm Armando Venditti signing off. Wishing you guys a very happy day. Please, again, look after yourselves and one another. And we'll see you soon with episode 17 of 31 Perfect Albums. Bye for now.